Hello, and welcome to the Identity Credential Access Management ICAM Shared Services session. My name is India Donald. I'm the Functional Manager for Federal Public Key Infrastructure Management Authority. My colleague is Jim Clausen, Deputy Director of Identity Management Solutions. Today we'll start off with a brief overview of shared services. Next, we'll go over the Identity Management Solutions Division. Next, we'll discuss the Federal PKI core capabilities and ecosystem. Next, we'll discuss the Managed Service Office core capabilities, program footprint, agency onboarding. And lastly, we'll go over some upcoming enhancements for Federal PKI and the Managed Service Office. So what is a shared service? Shared service is a concept of organizations sharing infrastructure, applications, people, or other resources that perform common government functions. How does this help you as an agency? Shared services promotes consistency across agencies, streamlines processes, and provides cost savings. It's estimated that shared services will generate between $21 and $47 billion between 2015 and 2025. Some examples of shared services include human resources, financial management services, and of course, identity management services. Our organization sits within GSA's Federal Acquisition Service Office of Information Technology category. We provide ICAM to over 100 federal customers. First, the Federal PKI Management Authority operates and maintains its trust infrastructure and provides certificate issuance and revocation to government and commercial partners. The Managed Service Office manages the U.S. Access Program, providing government agencies with identity credential solutions. Some of its activities include HSPD 12 credentials, fixed, mobile, and light credentialing units, identity and access for PACS and IT systems, as well as high assurance in security and privacy. Some of SPKI Management Authority's core capabilities include PKI Trust Framework. Our program is a government-wide interoperable trust fabric supporting the federal ICAM program. It's a trusted infrastructure. We're highly secure, have high availability, 24/7 operations, and we are federally and industry compliant. We're efficient. We reduce the need for individual agency PKI compliance programs. As a federal shared service, we continue to add return on investment by adding new PKI capabilities. And finally, we are federally aligned. We are aligned to the E-Government Act, HSPD 12, several OMB memos to include the recently released M1917, and NIST publications. There are many uses for SPKI. The most common is your PIV card. This allows federal employees and contractors access to buildings as well as to computer and IT systems. SPKI allows for computer-to-computer communications, allowing agencies and business partner IT systems to identify and trust each other before sharing information. SPKI also allows for data encryption and secure email. Sensitive information and emails can both be signed and encrypted. Secure websites. SPKI allows for both web users and web browsers to identify and distinguish between trusted and untrusted websites. And lastly, SPKI allows for digitally signed documents. Digital signatures can confirm a content's integrity, not usually provided by electronic signatures, and it binds the signature to a signer's identity as well. Here's a depiction of the SPKI ecosystem. It's actually a very simplified depiction, as the SPKI ecosystem has roughly 130 certification authorities, or CAs, that are either root, intermediate, or issuing CAs. This depiction represents the logical trust relationships between each entity. Specifically, the Management Authority operates and maintains the Federal Common Policy. That's the circle directly in the middle. The Federal Common Policy Certification Authority is the trust anchor for the entire federal government and is the root CA for all PIF cards. The Federal Bridge CA, or FBCA, that's the purple circle off to the far right. It was developed to facilitate interoperability between federal government and external entities. Up top is the TLS root, Transport Layer Security Root CA. This is a future joint project with DoD and GSA. This will actually be a standalone PKI for government-issued and publicly trusted certificates for public-facing government websites, basically allowing for secure websites, secure government websites. There are five PKI shared service providers, Treasury being the only federal shared service provider that provides service to some agencies. The other four are commercial: DigiCert, Verizon, Entrust, and WidePoint. SSPs, shared service providers, allows agencies to obtain PKI services without having to develop their own PKI enterprise. For example, Entrust is the shared service provider for GSA's Managed Service Office, or the U.S. Access Program. My colleague Jim Clausen will discuss the MSO program.
Hi, I'm Jim Clausen, Deputy Director of the GSA Identity Management Solutions Office. I'd like to draw your attention to the icon at the bottom of this slide, the SPKI Ecosystem, as one of the major users of the certificate authority offered through this program via a vendor called Entrust. The President of the United States in 2004 signed the Homeland Security Presidential Directive 12 to allow for a consistent, secure, privacy-protecting way to identify government employees, including contractors. The GSA Managed Service Office was established to simplify ID issuance process for federal agencies. The GSA MSO accomplishes this through a shared services model, which allows for efficient and effective provision of systems infrastructure, credential production, issue and activation, and card management, roll holder administration and training, and also supplies reporting tools that allows agencies to better analyze their own internal processes and to make reports upstream. U.S. Access brings to the customer cost savings through economies of scale. The small customer, which might be a board, commission, or sub-agency that could possibly total as few as 50 to 100 people, they gain the same economies of scale and price breaks that the larger agencies do. The program provides assured security compliance to FIPS 201-2 and NIST standards. A standard infrastructure is in place across 120 different customer agencies and over 600,000 active personal identity verification cards. And as India mentioned earlier, the shared services model allows for close cooperation and coordination between the GSA MSO and federal agency customers, as well as the cost savings involved. Next. How are we doing? Metrics are the name of the game these days with all federal programs. and the U.S. Access program is no exception. U.S. Access serviced over 120 customer agencies, sub-agencies, boards, and commissions in FY19. The program issued 402,000 personal identity verification cards and enrolled 200,000 people in the system. 11 new customer agencies were added, and within the next 12 months, U.S. Access will double its footprint and its customer base through the addition of one single large federal customer. Where are we? This is a map of the continental United States showing the location of all 227 shared sites. These are sites that agencies host and operate, which allow for the enrollment of personnel and the activation of personal identity verification cards. These sites are open to all federal employees and federal contractors and are operated by the agencies involved. We also have sites outside of the continental United States in Alaska and Hawaii and some of the overseas U.S. territories. Mobile credentialing units and fixed credentialing units provide the basic hardware infrastructure to accomplish this job, but also at each of these sites you will find printers for those agencies that wish to do local printing, cameras, fingerprints, and other hardware and software necessary to complete the process. New customers are always welcome to U.S. Access. It's easy to onboard. We have a streamlined and repeatable process that's been honed and refined over 10 years of operation. While we do have standardized system offerings, there is limited customization allowed so that agencies can meet their own unique internal requirements, such as border colors, seals, and special data fields. These are extra over and above the price-listed standard offerings. Full customer participation is encouraged through monthly customer advisory boards, footprint management working group meetings, and technical working group meetings. And for those of you who want to actually engage with us, there's an email at the bottom of this slide, gsamso@gsa.gov. That's your first entry point to start the discussion. There are three major steps with coming on board to U.S. Access. First being customer engagement, then there's the commitment, and then readiness to make sure that the agency is prepared to run the service. At the outset with customer engagement, we talk about points of contact, projected card volume, where the agency might like to set up its credentialing sites and its centers. And that's followed shortly by a commitment, which is an interagency agreement specifying what services the GSA MSO will provide to the agency, as well as what kind of funding and costs are involved. It's at this point, too, that we talk about the agency-specific branding criteria and special services that are needed, as well as the detailed data worksheets for each of the credentialing sites. Lastly is the preparation, which is the hiring and training of the role holders that agencies will require in order to effectively run U.S. Access. We will also have to activate the workstations, whether they're mobile credentialing units or fixed credentialing units, at each of the sites that the agency proposes. Next step is operational. The Identity Management Solutions Office, including both SPKI MA and HSPD 12, are always looking forward to evolving to better serve its mission and its customers. So this graphic here shows you three major enhancements that are forthcoming. The first big rock, as we call them, is the ICAM guidance alignment. We have already published the ICAM Solutions Catalog as directed by OMB M-19-17, and it's now published on idmanagement.gov as shown in the bottom button. We're also working at this point on a roadmap to accompany that guidance document. Next, and a little bit further out, is the transition to version 8.1 personal identity verification cards. These cards will be much more secure than the current version 7 cards, and we plan to have the transition complete by 2024. In the meantime, we will be allowing both version 7 and version 8 to be activated, to be enrolled and activated at agencies. At the moment, we have about 1,000 cards having been tested and in place within our various customer agencies. The last button in the middle of the page is the Derived Credential Strategies development. Through the development of this strategy, we will be able to move the data that is currently on our PIV cards onto mobile applications like your iPhone that will enable you, the customer, to better use these credentials in various ways and in different form factors than you're limited to at the moment. That's a little bit further off and will require more analysis and research. Next slide. If there are any questions, please contact us, myself, Jim Clausen, and India Donald at the email addresses shown below. One minor correction for Jim Clausen, that's me. The email address is actually james.clausen@gsa.gov. Thank you very much for listening.